It's blooming.
Mic check, mic check. Yep, sounds perfect.
All right, man. Well, shit.
Cheers.
Cheers. Salute.
Salute.
We got the audio video guy himself here for a little interview. This is like flip it up a little bit.
I know, right? Reversed.
How many podcasts have you shot with the boys?
Tim and Sean.
Yeah.
I started with them. I remember what episode. I started with episode 39.
Really?
So they're like episode 270 or something. I've shot most of them, but now me and Garrett split it. So he'll do 2 a month and I do 2 a month. But I've done probably like 80-90% of them.
Yeah. And a lot of that is trial and error. Like you're figuring it out. You're watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You're figuring out how to make it work, how to make it better.
Yeah, exactly. When I first joined them, I was doing music videos beforehand, and I was like, I knew music videos is the same thing. You just sync the audio to the video, so I was like, it's the same exact thing. So when I started doing it, it was pretty, it's not as hard, but we did grow into like a bigger setup because we started with like a little webcam.
Yeah.
And then I think this, like a little H6 recorder, which is perfect, still works. But they still use it till this day.
Yeah.
But we just got more equipment, and then, but yeah, it was a lot of trial and error because me and Tim were the ones kind of like, what's the best camera for podcasting? And we went through a couple cameras and a couple different audio setups, and because the audio is its own world. There's like people that go just for audio, like just to study audio. That's it. So it's been cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, man. I mean, I know you and I met. How long ago would it have been? Because you were doing video for Courtney.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I remember.
You started with that. Like
I think
Dre.
that's how I met you, huh?
Yeah. You were doing video, I think, whether that was in my gym or was at the lab. And then you synced up with Tim and Shug. Mm-hmm. And then the first podcast I shot with those guys, they were using that just extra room at, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the company.
Highway 85.
Highway 85.
Yeah.
And then they moved out of that little room into like the other section of the room. And then you were there.
Yep.
And you were helping them with.
Yeah, and before that, we were in Tim's extra bedroom, and then after that, was it Highway 85, and then we went to like an actual like room just dedicated to just podcasting, but it was just a room like this, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how many years it's been. Like what, 4 or 5?
I mean, I would have done that podcast with them probably I think that was before I was working with Shug full time. So I don't know. That could have been. I started working with Shug full time in 19, I believe. So 5 years ago.
I think I met him around that time too.
Yeah.
19, maybe.
Yeah.
End of 18. I don't know. It's been forever though.
Yeah,
Crazy how fast time goes, huh?
It does, bro. I mean, you telling me. I feel like you do a good job leaning into it and embracing it. So,
yeah. I try. I mean, sometimes I forget. It's just kind of, when you're doing what you want to do, it just kind of goes fast, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
You're not really dreading time. But yeah, I look at all the old vlogs and stuff. I'm like, dang, that was already 4 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think I met Sean when he was suspended.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just started kind of doing the pods and just doing videos for them. And it just kind of one thing after another. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, tell me, man. I know a little bit of your story. I know you're from here. You're born and raised in Phoenix, right?
Yep, born and raised.
I mean, the West Side. It's actually funny because we have mutual contact or mutual friends.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Tell me a little bit more about your path. And I mean, our mutual friend Johnny, he always says like you're fly back in the day. You're always like like
clothes and
into
stuff.
Style and stuff. But
yeah, it's just crazy. Where'd I start? I guess clothing has been a big part of my life, I guess. I mean, every young kid wants to kind of be cool, you know, but I've always just kind of, streetwear is what you'd call it, just kind of called me, like, I don't even know how to say it. Just all my friends were wearing streetwear, so it's like I was bound to just like it, you know. But then you started getting into like your niches, I guess, you know, the people that really like it, like, oh, this, I don't know, it's just kind of like an ego thing, I guess, where it's like, oh, this is only from Japan, like you cannot get this anywhere. And I don't know, something about just clothes kind of always caught my interest. And yeah, I've just always been into, like, it started with literally streetwear. Back then it was like G Unit or like Jordans or DGK or whatever, and then you got into as you got older, you kind of got into other brands. But I've always just kind of made friends through clothes, I guess. And then I was into sports up until like middle school, and then once I got into high school, I got into girls. So I just kind of stopped caring about sports.
That tends to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, girls kind of take over my life, so I kind of stopped caring about everything else but that. And yeah, one thing kind of led to another. I've always wanted to do a clothing brand though, since like probably freshman years when I think I tried to do one with one of my good friends, and I just always wanted to do clothes. And yeah, I mean, long story short, now I'm here still doing that, and I've always been into videos. I remember just growing up, getting ready like in middle school. My mom, obviously, I'm waiting for my sisters and brothers to get ready or be ready, and we'd watch like just music videos like Top 10 or whatever. And a lot of times they would show like behind the scenes, like this is how we shot the video or whatever. And I just something kind of drew me to like just the guy filming, like, oh man, like he's the genius. He's the one making these guys look cooler than what they are, like bigger than what they are. And I've just always wanted to do that, like just something creative, I guess. And yeah, long story short, I ended up buying a camera a little bit after high school, and I just never not had a camera since like 2014, 13. And I think art has always just kind of been in my life. Like that's the thing that I love. Anything that I can do to express myself. I just remember one time I was looking through all my old stuff, and I found like my grades, like, your report or whatever in high school. I was literally failing every class but art. Like that was the only class I was passing. And all the teachers would just talk shit about me on the notes, because they would put notes on there like, he doesn't come with a pencil. He doesn't even want to be here. Like, just saying the worst things about me. And my art teacher would be like, I love him. He's an excellent student. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy how that.
It's your calling. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your brand, man. I mean, you're rocking your hat, where does that, I don't know, where does that idea come from? What's the story of that? Even the design itself. Do you draw? Do you actually create that way?
I don't create. The way I do it is I've always, I feel like, had good taste, and I've always kind of knew what I liked as far as like fonts, colors, the way something is laid out. I guess the best way that I would explain it, I kind of curate it, and then I get with people that are way better than me at actually designing, like people that do this for a living and can execute it way better than I could ever. And I'll partner with them. Like I have a buddy, Austin. He's probably like my main guy I work with design wise, and we'll just come up with a bunch of references, a bunch of like images, and we'll just colors, and we'll just kind of get together like, this is what I like, what do you think? And I trust his take on clothing and stuff and designs. So sometimes he'll come up with something like that I didn't even see, and we'll just kind of collaborate that way. But that took me a while to kind of get there. Beforehand, I was just, it would just be like sketches, and it would be just like a shitty reference. And I would literally, like when I first started, the only way I knew how was you would literally get an image and you would upload it to like a template of some sort online. And that's it. You just get like a basic font, throw it on there, and then they ship it to you like this is what you design,
right?
Technically. But it ended up going into just kind of where I'm now, where I understand like the process of, design a lot better, I guess, just through a lot of trial and error, like years and years. Like I've been doing the brand probably around the same time, maybe 7-8 years on and off. But like the past 2-3 years, I've been really like consistent and really kind of giving it my all, and it's been kind of, I guess, flourishing lately. So but I started Product. The name, I was reading this book called, I remember I was talking to you about it, it's called Conversations with God. And it just a line in there just kind of always stuck with me. It's just like, be the product of your highest wishes. And I just like the word product. I was like, product just sounds cool. And then eventually I added the product De Soto, so it's more me. And yeah, I've been lately doing a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff. As you know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu as well for like the past 6 years. And I've always wanted to kind of implement my design taste into like the martial arts clothing. So that's what I've been doing lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at now.
It's dope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do remember that conversation. I feel like we were driving doing something. You were helping me with some video shooting. We were driving somewhere and we were talking about that. That's cool to to think about where you're at now. I've always respected your perspective on building a brand. Mm-hmm. In that I remember you telling me that just, be patient. Like it's one of these things that if you keep doing what you believe in, like it doesn't matter how many people are, liking, say, a post. It's like, as long as you're doing something that you believe in, that you like eventually you start to build your community or your tribe.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what I'm seeing you execute, which is cool.
Yeah. It's been crazy, honestly. I've just always had this kind of, I was like, even if I had 10 people that just always by myself, I'm happy doing that. It just gives me more, I guess, just happiness in a sense of like, I'm creating, like, obviously everybody wants to be well off, right? And I think well off is very subjective, but like, I feel like I'm getting closer to that where it's like, I can kind of lean on just that. And it's just been, I don't know, it's just crazy. I always think about where I first started, where I couldn't even sell 12 shirts to save my life, And I say 12 because usually, like, every screen printer, it's like minimum, like, you have to do at least 12, like, worth their time. And it'd be hard. Now I'm running into where it's like I'm trying to keep up with the demand, which is a good thing. But at the same time, I'm trying to find that balance of not creating out of, to create, like, how do I say it? Not creating, like, forcing it, I guess, you know? So it's just like kind of a balance. Now it's like that's where you get into business, I guess, right? But yeah, it's been crazy to see how much it's grown in that time. And I feel like I've only really kind of dedicated, like, actually tried, like, in the last 3 years. So it's like finally starting to be where I want it to be, I guess. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, you keep doing what you're doing, like, eventually you're going to find your niche. And
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you just got to, I think patience is a really good virtue. Patience is a good skill of just not getting ahead of yourself and trusting the process. Like we do that, you teach that in athletics. We teach that to athletes to just trust the process. It's not, don't base your value off of just the results. Because the results will come, but stay consistent, trust the process. Like, are you cultivating good work? Are you doing something that you believe in? Like, that's where the worth should come from.
Yeah. And I think people could tell when you're doing it out of, like, you love to do it. Like, you're passionate about that. And that's what people always tell me. Like, I could tell, like, you love to do what you're doing, whether it's filming, clothes, jiu-jitsu. I'm, like, passionate about it, and it shows, you know what I mean? And I'm sure it was like that for you, like, when you first started the gym. I'm sure it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, what if nobody signs up? Or, what if I can't get clients? Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've never, like, kind of doubted my, I guess, like, my vision with it. I was like, dude, there's no way, like, someone's not going to like this,
Yeah.
And it's cool when it, like, when people I don't expect to like it, I guess, It's like starting to get to that point where I'll just be wearing my stuff and, like, I'll go anywhere, to the gym, to a restaurant, and I get compliments like, oh, like, where'd you get that? And it's like, oh, it's my brand. So it's like, makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something right. You know what I mean? So, and now, I'm just in a place where everything just finally coming together. I have the right kind of people around me. And even with the filming stuff, I've always felt like the way I film stuff or the way I capture things, like, you can't teach that.
Like, you got to see it.
It's like a feeling. I don't know. And I mean, it shows, you know, like I look back at old videos I shot like maybe 6 years ago, and I'm like, that's still, I feel like it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it aged well. And yeah, I think a lot of it just comes down to just how you feel, I guess.
Yeah, you get an eye.
Yeah.
I think of it as we're all artists. You know, you don't have to be an artist to be an artist. You know, we're all artists in some way. That could be business.
I agree.
You know, it could be art. It could be creating clothing. It could be a martial artist. You could be a fighter. And then one
Even
of the
just
things,
how you carry yourself, too.
yeah.
You know?
And I think one of the things of life is figuring out like where your artistic skill is, you know, where your passion is. That's it. That's important. Not everybody, not too many people get there.
I think some people are scared of it. They get in their head. I have so many creative friends that are like 100 times more talented than me, but they're so like in their head about putting it out there and the judgment.
Yeah.
That they never do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, like you're like way more talented than me. You know what I mean? But I don't know. You just have to put it out there. Like, don't be scared, I guess. You know what I mean?
And not wait. Like, I agree. People will wait to be at a certain point to release something or to do something.
Yeah.
Like they're not qualified yet.
Yeah.
When I think you're already qualified. Like start to put stuff out and learn from that.
I agree. I think yeah, exactly. And I just feel what got me in routine of that is I just told myself, let me release something at least once a month or once every other month. Even if I don't want to rush it, but I don't want to sit with it too long.
Mm-hmm.
Where you sit with it too long, you kind of start to critique it too much. When it's like, no, I'm just going to let it go. Whatever happens, happens. And a lot of times, like, when I'm coming up with designs, I'm like, okay, I feel like this one's going to do really well, but this one is just kind of like a filler piece where it's okay. I just wanted the collection or whatever to look more filled. And usually, like, the one that I least expect does really good. I'm like, dude, that one sold the most. Like, I didn't even expect that. And you just never know, honestly. It's kind of weird.
Right.
But, yeah, I wish more people would kind of get out of their heads.
Yeah.
About just anything, you know, like starting a podcast or doing a brand or starting martial arts or getting into a new business. Like, just do it. Fuck it.
Yeah, authenticity of self is so important to cultivate. And I think it's interesting why people why people push it away or why people are afraid of that. I think it's just one of those things you've got to learn to lean into,
embrace,
be yourself.
I think in the beginning people don't know, or they're scared to kind of show themselves, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Some people, I always think about this too, is like some people are scared to show what they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may think like, oh, what if they think it's weird or something?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have been in those like pockets of like, oh, what are these people going to think? Or, oh, even with the podcast, you know, like, what if I say something dumb? Like, they're going to judge the hell out of me. But it's like, who cares, bro? Like, for those people that don't care or like that are going to judge you, there's going to be like 10 people that are going to love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I try to think about it.
Yeah, I really think it's most of life isn't about other people. It's about yourself. And I think the only exception to that is like you're in a relationship. When you're in a relationship, you know, or you have kids, then I think, you know, the other person obviously matters.
Yeah.
But even in that, even in a healthy relationship, I think we should prioritize ourselves.
I think
Yourself, self-love is like the most important thing. At least that's how I see it. And so if you can get closer to that, if you can inch closer to that, then who gives a fuck what other people think? Like, it's not about them. It's about you. And you can always say what you do have control over is like, okay, like that's your opinion, but fuck you, or, you know, that's your opinion. That's fine, but it doesn't faze me.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. But
I think it is too. And especially if you're not taught, like, who teaches you how to think that way?
Yeah. Nobody.
Nobody taught me like, hey, just do your thing. You know what I mean? I was just kind of, I guess just through the people that influence me is I always think of, I don't know, other artists that I'm into, I guess. And the, I guess, fearlessness that they have, you know,
Yeah.
of not caring what other people think. Because dude, you're not gonna not there. There's not one person in this world that is 100% liked. You know, like everybody has haters.
Yeah. Yeah, and the more you stand out, the more you're authentically yourself. I think the more that's gonna happen. Is people are going to hate you for that, because there is probably jealousy.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, they see somebody that's willing to put stuff out there and be themselves, and which is sad, but.
Or it's always like, I think I've even been in the mindset like, what? That's cool. That's selling. Like, dude, I'll make way better stuff than that. But there's a lot of people like that, but don't act on it, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I would look at, a lot of the big thing why I started a brand too is I would shoot a lot of lookbooks and video stuff for other clothing brands. They didn't really have a sense of direction or like what they were doing. And when I was filming or shooting pics or whatever for other clothing brands, I would always think like, man, I would do this so different. So I was like, well, why don't I? You know?
Right.
So that's why I kind of just started my own
yourself,
thing.
Yeah.
Now, there's some power in like having your own. I don't know if it's like a man thing or what, but I think every man wants their own like platform in a way, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if it brings, for me at least, it brings me peace of mind of I'm building my own. I don't even know.
Yeah,
just thing.
I think it's a human thing.
Is it?
You know, I would think so. I think maybe it's a personality thing, and you know, so maybe certain men don't have as strong of a draw to that as others. Maybe some women. Yeah, I would think it's probably a human thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I just always wanted my own platform. I think I've always just never. I think every kid's like this. At least I was. I don't like being told what to do. So it's like, well, what's the best way to get there, I guess, is just having my own thing. Like, hey, this is my own clothing brand. I own it 100%. Nobody can say, hey, you should do this. I mean, people are always in my ear like, oh, like, I think this would be a cool idea for your brand, you know? But it's not like anybody's on top of me, right? Where it's like, hey, do this, do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've always had that in me, even like with coaches and stuff. When I was playing sports, like in middle school, it would just kind of like, don't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? It was weird, but I don't know. Yeah, I always think of that too. It's like, that's why I like having my own shit, my own clothing brand, because I could do whatever I want. And just because it's clothes, I mean, I want to eventually venture into like other things, you know. I'm already doing video stuff, but more than that too, you know, like it'd be cool. Like, oh, let me make my own glass or something. Let me design my own table or lamp or something eventually, you know. I think product right now is just I look at it like a big resume and portfolio for myself, because eventually I would like to maybe creative direct for other brands or stuff like that in the long run.
Oh yeah. You mentioned Austin, who helps you. Is he the guy you connect me with that helped me with
he did your logo.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
He's been my friend for a couple years now, actually. Like, again, crazy how time flies. But
he helped with the podcast too, right? A little bit.
I don't think he's helped with the podcast, no, but he does mainly all my designs. Like, that's what he does as a job, like full time.
He's here.
Yeah,
he's local.
I was just at his house before this. We're just kind of working on stuff. But
yeah, he killed it with the Higher Human. I mean, it turned out great. Yeah, I was super happy with that.
There's very few people I trust, like design and aesthetic and just anything kind of like in that world. And he's like one of those very few people I trust, like completely. Like, I could be like, Austin, you know what I like at this point. Like, do your own thing, you know. And it's pretty cool, full circle, how I never thought that I would. I mean, it's not a lot if you want to compare, but I remember when we first started designing, I couldn't really afford to pay him that much, you know, up until the last time we did like a whole collection together and we spent a lot of time together. And I was able to kind of pay him a good amount off of like a recent collection. I was just like, dang, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, it's cool to be able to get people back that kind of took care of you too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, and he's always kind of believed in me, and I've always believed in him too. So we just kind of keep growing. So it's crazy to, I don't know, just like moments like that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Hell yeah. What's your creative process look like? Do you think of it as like a workflow, or do you just, because you're doing a lot of stuff, right? You're you're doing video, you're doing podcasts, you're shooting, you're editing, you're training, you're coaching. I mean, you got a lot on your plate. How does that work for you? Like, I'm one of those people that when I'm doing certain things, like I'm weird. Like, I kind of have to have everything. Like, if I'm gonna write, I like to write. I have to have like 2 hours cleared out. I want to be at like a coffee shop with the coffee and other things I can just do. In. Yeah, but certain things like I'm kind of funky with. Like, what's your process look like?
My process is very. I think I'm very just. It's hard for me to kind of explain that, I guess, because I can literally like. I will wait sometimes and just be okay with like I don't know what I'm gonna drop next month, and sometimes it'll hit me like 2 weeks before the month ends, and I'll just get with Austin or I'll sketch some stuff up in literally like a couple days and okay, this is it, boom, and then we get it done like all in 1 week. And sometimes like the last collection we did in October, that took us like maybe a month, 2 months, that whole process, which is ideally I think that's the best way. But sometimes I just set these imaginary deadlines just so I don't procrastinate or bullshit. Hey, I need to drop by this date. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's very kind of everywhere sporadic, honestly. I don't really set like gaps of, okay, I'm going to work on designs, which I feel like would be beneficial. But so far, I feel like I'm always just kind of looking for, I don't really force the inspiration or what I'm going to do next. It sometimes just hits me and I just kind of write it down and I don't overthink it or try to critique it. I'm just like, this is it. Something just tells me like, this is it. And my process is usually like, right now I feel like I'm trying to still kind of get people familiar with the brand, and I'm trying to keep some designs repetitive so people can get familiar with the logo or familiar. They're like, I've seen that logo a lot of times. Or
like the one on your hand, right?
Yeah.
Like when
this is like my main logo.
Yeah. When I think of your brand, I think of that a lot.
Yes.
So that's what you're saying. You're doing that intentionally.
Yes, I'm doing that intentionally. So I want to keep redropping that to keep showing it in front of people, just so they could get familiar with it and then they associate it with whatever, you know. I think at this point people are like, okay, like I'm very proud of like obviously my roots, like being Mexican and stuff like that. So I try to kind of implement that a lot in my brand, and it's pretty easy, honestly, like the colors, the patterns and stuff. But there's a fine balance where it's like I don't want to get too cheesy. It's like, okay, bro, we get it, you're Mexican. But like kind of just like do it tastefully, like with a little sprinkle of it, I guess. So I don't even know if that answered it, but a lot of times I'm just watching movies. If I go to events or something and I see someone with a cool outfit or I see a painting, I like the colors. I take pictures, boom, sketch stuff, send it to Austin. And we just kind of bounce ideas like, hey, what do you think? Boom, boom, boom. And like I said, I don't try to like sit on my designs for too long, because I know if I sit on it for too long, I'm going to critique it and I'm just going to scratch it. And I'm going to, I guess, kind of like procrastinate on putting it out, you know? So yeah. I try to release something at least once a month, if not every other month. And I just try to get in that routine of just getting reps, you know? Same thing with like, you know, you go to jiu-jitsu and you're just kind of drilling, getting reps. I'd rather get reps than never do it at all. Because eventually, like, I'm doing reps up until I do a big collection and it all just comes together, you know? Like, oh, man, I did this in February and it's December now. It's like, let me bring that back. Well, let me take away some of these elements of it and then keep this, change the colorways, change the sizing of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all fun.
Yeah, consistency, man.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing what I've learned. Consistency.
You got it, yeah. How are you doing battery-wise?
Good.
We're good, right?
Yeah,
we're here in the office extra bedroom, so, you know, we're making
this is perfect, bro.
Making it work.
Better than when me, Tim, and Sean started.
Yeah. So here's a question for you when you were speaking right there. Something I thought about is, there'll be like a 2-part question. Is, first I would say, would you consider yourself naturally present? Like, would you say that as an artist, as a creative person by nature, do you feel like you're more prone to being present? And then I'm gonna add to that is that I think of one of the primary benefits. I meditate, I do breath work. It's a big part of my whole thing, right? As I've gotten better at that, so I wouldn't say I was naturally present. I would say I was a very heady. I'm always thinking. Or I don't know what it's like to be in somebody else's head. But as I've gotten better at being still, as I've gotten better at cultivating presence, I feel like I'm better at receiving life. And the reason I went there is that, to me, how you were talking about your creative process is almost like you're letting your day to day, your life be your inspiration. And I think of when somebody is better at just being right where they're at being present, that they're better at receiving life. Because when your brain is all over the place and you're judging yourself,
Yeah.
like you're basically cutting out a lot of information from coming in because you can only absorb so much. So does that make sense? Like
No,
the question?
that does make sense. I feel like I am very patient. I've noticed that about myself. I think I'm very I don't know if it's just the way I grew up. I'm very just accepting of wherever I am.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm just accepting of wherever I am. I'm very like, I think it takes a lot for me to kind of be overly excited or something. I'm very kind of just neutral a lot of times. You know what I mean? But I think it just comes from like not having a lot growing up and knowing like, but through not having a lot it does make me appreciate other things. But it's like, dude, I don't even know how to explain it. I'm just very accepting of anything, like
You're not looking for the next best thing. You're good
I'm
with
not.
where you're at.
I'm very like just I can be here.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that would be presence.
Yes. I think I am present, but I'm like everybody. I get anxious. I overthink and stuff. But
I would if I'm guessing, like knowing you, I would say you do seem like you have good presence. Yeah.
Thank you. I try. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just from growing up. Like, dude, nothing can get worse than, I guess, just how I was brought up in a way, like I've experienced a lot of bad stuff. And in that, I've kind of been like, okay, dude, I've been through this, so it can't get any worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been borderline like homeless and just borderline like just not having anything to my name type of deal. So it's like, and I've always been okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter where I'm at, I'm like, dude, I'm fine.
Yeah. Perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you think about how prone we are to judging like an experience as good or bad.
Yeah.
But if you reflect on your life, a lot of times you'll realize that things that you would label as bad end up being your greatest teacher.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like most of the time. And I think a lot of people just miss that. Like it's like a cliche thing that, struggle breeds growth or whatever but when you actually stop and reflect, you realize that when you go through shit and it gives you perspective, a lot of times you come out the other end like, man, that was one of the, I learned the most from it,
Yeah.
So
I don't, how people always like, I don't know. Some people like, even in jiu-jitsu, like, man, I wish I started when I was a kid. It's like, I don't.
Right.
I don't wish I did it in high school because I knew what kind of mindset I had. Like I was I didn't want to struggle or didn't want to kind of go through something tough. I would have quit in high school, if I started wrestling or anything like that. So I always think of like, when people say stuff like, I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I did this when I was way back then. It's like, I don't. Like, I'm glad how life kind of just turned out, I'm glad for the bad,
Yeah.
Like I'm fine. Like, dude, it worked out how it's supposed to work out.
Well, fuck, man. Anytime you're wishing for, like, if you're wishing you would have done something different, I get we say that it's language, but it's really ridiculous because you can't.
Exactly. It's like, why even say that?
No, it's a ridiculous statement that, to be honest, is like wasting energy, especially if somebody really, like, it's one thing if you say it in conversation.
Yeah.
But if somebody really, like, man, they're dwelling, like, only if I would have started earlier, like, it's wasted energy.
I try not to dwell on a lot. Like I try not to like, even for the bad that happened to me, it's like, cool, like dude, it already happened. Like I'm here now though, you know. I try to think that way. But then it's that fine balance, right? Where it's like I try not to think so far ahead either. I don't know, I've read something where it's like what when you think back it causes like sadness or something, and when you think too ahead it causes like anxiety. So I always think of that kind of quote, I guess, where it's like, well, let me just be here now, let me do my best now. You know, sometimes I'm like, well, what do I want to do with the brand? And sometimes I don't know. I'm just kind of creating, just to create. Like my form of, like I guess freedom is that is just creating. Like if I can keep creating, dude, I'm happy. I'm free, which I have been for the past couple of years, which is pretty. Even that in itself, you know, it's crazy. Kind of just thinking about that. Like I don't know. I always think of what is currency. I guess you know. Like I think currency is the friendships you have and your happiness more than like
flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility.
Time.
Yeah, that's currency to me. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm rich right now.
Yeah, you could be, and to really believe that, or to know that, right? There's a difference between belief and knowing, but to know it is so powerful because you could be a multimillionaire that doesn't have freedom. That's locked into something that they don't love, and you know they're stuck, and maybe they're unaware of it, or maybe they're kind of aware of it, but they don't know how to get out. You know,
so they could be just as unhappy as the guy making $40K a year.
100%, man.
You know what I mean?
Really, man. I had just the other day I had a baseball client. We were talking about some stuff, and he happened to be at like this event where he met this guy that billionaire. And we were talking about it. He was just saying how this guy was like the most miserable person he's ever met. And this baseball athlete's like a really grounded, quality human. We talk a lot about flow. We talk a lot about stuff. He gets it. And I mean, he has made a lot of money. Yeah. But he's like, this guy was probably the most miserable person I've ever met in my life, and he's a billionaire.
That's insane, huh? I've met people like, obviously, like I've met a lot of people through just Tim and Sean, like other celebrities, and like even outside of that, you know, just kind of running into like other business people. Same thing. It's like, dude, I do not want your life. Like not judging it, but you know, you just always think like, would you replace yourself with that? Even though, I don't know, people are always like, there's this guy that told me, and he's very like well off, you know, whatever that means, like financially. And he's just like, bro, I envy your life. You have a great work-life balance. Like, this is what I want. And in my head, I was like, dude, you fucking could buy anything you want in the world. You know what I mean?
You could stop.
Yeah.
You could cut all that out. And I mean, but
who knows what their obligations are? You know what I mean?
There's attachment to it,
so
most
I feel
likely.
like people are always kind of give and take with it. And that's the thing with art as well. Like, people are always... It's hard to kind of get to that point where you are making art that you want to make, but... be well off, I guess. Again, whatever, that's very subjective. It's like, you know, whatever number that is in your head. But yeah, I always think that too. It's crazy. You kind of just, you don't mean to judge, but you kind of do, just naturally.
Yeah, it's actually something that Sugar said to me recently that I thought was really insightful. We're talking about like happiness. And he made a comment about I don't even think we're chasing happiness. I think we're chasing inner peace. I think it's about inner peace. Yeah. And to me, if I was to like define that, you know, the words as signpost, that makes a lot of sense because I think happiness is more of there's a condition. It'll, you know, if I make this amount of money, I'm going to be happier. If I have these things, I'll be happy. And I guess happiness is also an emotion, but for just, you know, for purposes of this conversation, I think a lot of times happiness comes with conditions where inner peace doesn't. Inner peace isn't conditional. It's
unconditional. You think?
Or what? It's just how you feel. Yeah. Like you could have inner peace. Yeah, maybe it's like this. You could have inner peace, but then also be struggling with something. You know, you could be going through something very difficult. You could be sad. Yeah. But you could still have inner peace. You could lose your loved one. You could, you know, but because you have so much, you're so grounded, you could still have inner peace. And so I
Yeah.
think there's a big difference between those two.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's like constantly just like in like 100% always like someone's always dealing with something, you know. But
Yeah.
it's just like how you deal with it, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, and I think we're just pursuing. I mean, if you're after inner growth, if you're the type of person that's looking for, if you believe in like doing inner work, then I think we're pursuing that. But yeah, like, yeah, I don't know if we ever get there. That's probably enlightenment.
This is just endless, like
Yeah,
endless,
that's like
kind of.
in the Buddhist tradition, that would be enlightenment. You would no longer have struggle, right? You would be.
But do you think if you get there, would you be bored? Do you kind of think you need a little bit of just like I need to work on this? Like
Yeah,
there's
I
always
mean-
I need to work on something.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, I do. I think it's like if you believe in reincarnation,
Yeah.
I think it's like one of those things that, okay, let's just say you believe in reincarnation and souls, just like, we go through this life and then we come back, and like I think probably at the end there's probably an opportunity to be like, all right, am I done? Maybe there's like a portal that opens, and then your energy is. But if I'm there and I'm making a choice, I'm probably coming back. You feel
Yeah.
me? Like I would want to still.
Keep going.
Yeah, I would want to still go. I'd want to work at it. I want
Yeah.
the
Keep
struggle.
expressing.
Keep expressing. Keep.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know,
never
that's-
ending. That's how I feel too. With anything, bro. Like jiu-jitsu, it's like, dude, I joined jiu-jitsu just to learn how to defend myself. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. And then obviously like your
You
teammates.
get good at it.
Yeah, you get good at it.
Yeah.
And then new things come like, oh, you should compete. Oh, you should do this. Oh,
Yeah.
coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I just want to learn how to defend myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Real quick, if we stop. Okay, so we're talking about, we got kind of getting into jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and then you've been doing, you said about 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
So what have been some of your biggest lessons
Jiu-jitsu?
that you've taken away, and like out that are like life lessons that have come from the sport?
I mean, I think the biggest thing jiu-jitsu has taught me is just to be consistent, not to be boring, but
Yeah.
being consistent and just trusting the process. I mean, it sounds cheesy to say, but it's the truth, honestly. And just kind of, I also remember how I said I didn't really like to take kind of, I guess, what is the word I'm looking for? Like when people tell me something to do.
People tell you how to do,
Yeah.
what to do, or how to do it.
I feel like when I met Tim was like just different about it, and I connected more with him. I think that's the first like kind of coach I connected with, where it's like, okay, like you get it, and I respect you,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna respect what you're saying, what you're telling me to do. You know?
Yeah. Now, he coaches different in a sense that at least from my observation, and I've been around him a lot, like not as like an authority, like I'm
Yeah.
the sensei in the room, right? It's a much more laid back.
So much more like, hey, I'm your friend,
Yeah.
and the way I've noticed he coaches too. I think I just know him a little bit better because I spend a lot of time with him, and he'll coach in a way where sometimes you'll think, like we could be talking like this, and he'll say like, yeah, he'll just say something to kind of make you think about it, but not really directly at you, just out of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's coaching you when you're not even knowing he's coaching you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I feel like I've just, I don't know, we're not that far in age, but he is like someone that I respect a lot in just life. So I feel like it's easy for me to, okay, like I trust what you're telling me.
Yeah.
I think it's just a trust thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've learned just to stay disciplined and just being consistent, even when I don't want to be there, because I feel like that jiu-jitsu is the only thing, jiu-jitsu and like my creative side, even my creative side, I've always kind of been on and off. But jiu-jitsu, I've always been like on the mats, you know? Even no matter what's going on in my life, like I find a way to just be there. And I feel like it just kind of shows like that hours on the mats don't lie. You know what I mean? The reps don't lie.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have a bad week, a bad month, but at the end of the day, like, it just doesn't lie, you know? It just doesn't lie. Like, it works. So I think that kind of translated into even just my clothing brand. Like, well, let me just get reps. Let me always try to come up with new designs or just kind of bounce ideas constantly and let me try to release stuff constantly, and eventually it's gonna show. And that I think that's the biggest thing I've learned from jiu-jitsu is just now I'm in a position where it's like starting to coach. Well, I've been coaching probably like more than 2 years now to pass it on, I guess. So that's been a new thing I'm experiencing, is kind of just seeing like people. I remember when I first started, super nervous, super shy, like timid, scared to be on the mat, scared to talk to people, and like I see them consistently, and then their whole like kind of just aura changes, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see, I guess.
Yeah. What belt are you at right now? You're
purple.
And so purple,
Then brown, then black.
yeah. So realistic. I mean, I know it's like it's like it's a dumb question, but it's probably a question that people always think of. Is like a couple more years.
I would say if everything goes good and I don't get injured and I compete a couple times and I just keep doing what I'm doing, I should be a black belt in like 2 to 3 years. I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 max.
It's a cool accomplishment, man.
Dude, it's really hard to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, especially like being a black belt under Tim. Like it's like that's a good accomplishment.
Yeah, because has he promoted?
I don't think he has any black belts under him.
So
I think Sean's a brown belt under him and Taquino, like a joint thing, but Tim doesn't have any even a brown belt under him.
I was in there today and coaching Suge, but people are open mat, right? Or no, Friday's not open mat.
It's like invite comp
good
only.
good dudes.
Yeah, UFC guys,
yeah.
IBJJF world champs, everybody's in there. D1 wrestlers.
Yeah, man, and there's definitely some savages in there. There's a guy in there today that I had recognized, but I've never seen him in there. I'm pretty sure he was a Brazilian guy. He was rolling with
Is it a skinnier guy?
Skinnier guy, but
Livio? Maybe. Is he bald? Not bald,
no,
but he's a shaved head.
Yeah, no, not hair. Probably like 6 foot.
Oh, okay.
6'1", longer, but like pretty cut. Yeah, maybe it looked like a savage. He was rolling with Bebo.
Oh yeah, Bebo's good too.
Yeah, that was some good. And then your boy Caesar.
Yeah,
who I really like. I like
yeah,
Caesar,
he's cool.
Man.
Huh?
Yeah, you grew up with Caesar?
I didn't grow up with him. I met him through jiu-jitsu, and actually, he messaged me on the product page a while, like 4 years ago, probably. Like, hey, do you have any left? And I was like, bro, I don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he just kind of stopped in to just roll. And
he was already doing jiu-jitsu, right?
He was already
doing it.
I think he's been doing it maybe a year, maybe 2 years longer than me. He's a brown belt. I would say he should be a black belt soon.
He's good.
Yeah, me and him have had conversations about opening up a gym eventually.
I like him. He's a dope dude.
No, yeah, I've always, as soon as we became like first day, it was like I clicked with him. He's like, you could just tell when someone's genuine and they mean well.
Yeah.
And he's a hard worker and he's really good at jiu-jitsu. But yeah, he's became one of my closest friends in the past probably couple of years.
Yeah.
Just always kind of connected, I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think about like flow with jiu-jitsu, right? And like I'm speaking of flow as like a flow state, right? But I think of flow state not like in a traditional sense, like how the books will talk about it. I think of flow as like everything we do matters. Like everything we do, there can be flow, and it's really about learning how to not resist life, right? It's like you go back to that we were talking about, like I wish I like it, that's a resistance to life.
Yeah,
you're resisting the flow of life when you're saying those things, like especially if you believe it. But as a person that doesn't do jiu-jitsu, I mean, I've done it like a little bit, right? But I definitely wouldn't say. To me, it's one of the sports that outside of like MMA, but not everybody's going to do MMA. Like everybody, jiu-jitsu, where it is such a flow sport. Like you see somebody's fluidity, like accepting positions, but not accepting it like you're good with it, but right, like you're there and then you're figuring out how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's a really cool sport in that sense.
Yeah, I love jiu-jitsu. Like I remember I was hooked on jiu-jitsu from day one. Like I knew I was gonna do this forever. Like when I started jiu-jitsu, like it literally brought a smile to my face. I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. I just felt like I'm like, dude, this, I don't know. I felt like it's real life superhero, you know? I know people say that, but it's like true. It's like, damn, I remember just getting beat up. Like, in my perspective, I was always like, man, this person beat me up with ease. One day I'm going to be able to do that with someone that just comes in, like, doesn't know anything, you know? But I think in flow, yeah, sometimes you're not even really, once you get super deep into jiu-jitsu, you're not really, like, there's a counter to everything. Literally, there's a counter to how to, when someone armbars you, there's a counter how to defend it. And then there's a counter to their defense. And then there's a counter to that. You know what I mean? So I think it's just so fun. Like, at this point, once you get past, like, okay, I know I could defend myself. Like, I'm confident in myself as a man, for me at least. Like, I can be anywhere, just anywhere. And I'm confident that, not saying that nobody could beat me up. People could still beat me up, but I'm confident in that. Like, I can at least put up a fight and at least defend myself if I need to. But once you get kind of past that and you just kind of get into the sport of jiu-jitsu, it's just fun. It's just like at least right now as a purple belt, I look at it like, man, who's smarter? Mm-hmm. Who's smarter? That's all I think about. It's like, I don't care how big you are or how long you've been doing jiu-jitsu. I don't even care if you're a black belt. I'm like, who's smarter? Who's going to be first to their grips? Who's going to be first to kind of getting to the position? And it's just fun to me now. That's where I'm at in jiu-jitsu. But yeah, and it's cool to see the different styles. Yeah. Just like MMA, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many different styles of just striking and jiu-jitsu. I don't know. It's just fun.
Yeah, like I like watching your style when you roll. Like, you have a unique style. And to me, that's a cool expression of like who you are.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it is a lot of who you are. Because there's so many styles. You know, a lot of people tell me that they like seeing like how I roll, and I think I just like roll with I don't even know how I would explain my style.
I'd say more fluidity.
Yeah, I'm just flowing, cool. Like
looser.
Yeah,
you know?
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I just feel like I almost feel like I'm dancing, and it's kind of like weird because capoeira, I think is what it's called.
Capoeira.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah. Is it extension of jiu-jitsu or what is it?
No, so I did capoeira.
Oh, did you?
I mean, I think if you're a capoeista, probably say that wrong, right?
Did they like get shit from jiu-jitsu or did jiu-jitsu get shit from them?
No.
Something happened there.
So, and I'm not like a historian on it, but in Brazil, slaves like back in the day. So a lot of like the African slaves that were in Brazil, they would be locked up and like where roofs are really small, and so it was like an expression of like a dance expression, play expression coming from the African roots with the slaves. And like a lot of it is like you're low and you're moving and you're cartwheeling. So it's again I'm not a capoeirista, so it's like I can't really speak on it, but doing it, it's more of a play. It's more dance than a martial art.
I feel like that in jiu-jitsu sometimes I'm just dancing.
Maybe the Brazilian roots, like I think you would get, because capoeira is probably older in Brazil than jiu-jitsu, I would think.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like something happened there where it's like someone took something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, now when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, sometimes, I mean, there's times where, okay, this is a fight. This feels like a fight. You know, like I'm at the park fighting right now. But sometimes it feels like it's just like a basketball game where it's like, dude, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Like the energy of the person you're going against, right?
Maybe the intensity of it, and it depends. It could be the other person too, but a lot of times, more often than not, lately, at least for me, it just feels like it's fun. It just feels like I'm playing a game. I forget that this is self-defense.
Yeah.
In a way, you know.
Yeah.
Lately, which is cool. I kind of got past that. Like, I need to learn how to fight.
Yeah, it's I think of principles a lot, and like as a human, principles that if we embrace, we're again probably have more inner peace. And when I think of the sport, when I think of jiu-jitsu, I think that it encompasses all of these things that I think about of patience,
Mm-hmm.
presence,
Mm-hmm.
acceptance, vulnerability, community,
Yeah.
movement. I'm probably missing some things that I've thought about, but
I think that's good. Sometimes I don't like try to think too deep into it, but that's a good way to put it.
yeah, I mean, there's a community. You get it.
Yeah.
I go to the gym, right? I lift weights, I run, I do stuff. My headphone, I'm solo, like,
Yeah.
and that's important for me.
Uh-huh.
That's something I've always done. But I think about like I don't have a community there. I mean, I have a community at my gym,
Somewhat, yeah.
but it's not the same as like what you guys have at the jiu-jitsu gym.
I agree. I forget that sometimes because I'm kind of used to it at this point, but I do agree. I think community has been a big part of it because I always think I've said this in like previous like pods before, but someone like Schmitty was asking me like, "What do you want, bro?" I was like, "Bro, I want a family."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Dude, I low-key do have a family though." Like the jiu-jitsu community, like they're like my biggest supporters.
Mm-hmm.
They're always there for me. I know I could count on them. Like if some outside life stuff happened, and it's just like it's like a group of like we're all like there's mainly guys in there, so we're all super competitive and we're talking shit to each other. But at the end of the day, we know it's just love. Like we're just kind of pushing each other to be better, you know.
Yeah.
But I think about that too. I forget, like that's a big part of why I love jiu-jitsu is just like being around those people. Like I forget, like man, there's genuine people in the world.
Yeah.
And I think just again growing up, you surround yourself with just like shitheads and stuff, but you don't know that, up until you get older.
Yeah.
And then being in that jiu-jitsu community, it's just like, dude, they're all good people,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that makes you want to keep coming back to jiu-jitsu as well. I think every human just wants to be a part of, like how you said, a community
Mm-hmm.
or a team or a family or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it.
Yeah, man. You guys really have a cool thing there,
Yeah.
I mean, you're a part of that, what Tim and Sean have created, and you're a part of that. Like it's cool. There's good to get. It's funny, man. Just like
It's crazy how everything just kind of,
Yeah.
like, I didn't, when I started doing videos with them, I was just like, I don't know. I think Tim had just literally, when in that mindset, I was just very into jiu-jitsu. Like I was probably a year into jiu-jitsu, and I was trying to find a way to just keep doing that. Like
so you didn't start with Tim. You started somewhere
I started
else.
at another gym. I was there for like probably a year, and then I met Tim, and he was coaching somewhere. I think a gents gym or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, hey, as long as you help out with the pod, like, you could come train with me for free. And in my head, I didn't know, like, this is like a high level guy or UFC. Like, I didn't know. I was just like, oh, jiu-jitsu, free membership, one less bill I got. Cool. Like, let's do it, But it ended up being like a really big decision that I made because now it's like working with them has brought me a lot of like freedom in life and a lot of just like, what's the word when like other people just like respect you a little bit more, like, oh, you work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tim John, blah, blah, blah. It's like
like cloud or
what's the word, nor like respect in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I've been doing what I've been doing, nothing's changed,
Right. Yeah.
And everything just kind of ended up working out. Became a coach. Tim's gym just fucking was going crazy, and everything, like the podcast has been going just crazy. I mean,
Sugar's a world
champ.
champion. I mean,
like, dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then sometimes I feel like I'm too chill about it. I'm like, dude, yeah, like. But then I think about it, like, dude, this is insane. It's pretty inspiring, and I feel like they've taught me, like, they were kind of like their first friends. Like, damn, these guys are really my friends. Like, they care about you, So it's kind of cool to see that.
Yeah.
Like they're always trying to help people around them. And yeah, the jiu-jitsu community, like, dude, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think even how young Tim is and how successful everything has been.
Yeah.
And it's just like kind of barely like the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're just scratching the surface too, man.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's cool to just be a part of it. Like, it's cool like that these guys are my friends,
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel that way too.
Hell yeah. I mean, I was being down there today and, having a successable, practice, and Sean's healthy, he's feeling good.
Have you always wanted to do that? Was that your goal? Like, I want to work with like a big athlete But you met Sean when he wasn't like crazy, like famous. I mean, he was always famous, but not like as big.
Yeah,
as now.
I mean, for me, coaching, doing like, strength and conditioning, being a performance coach, I think of it more that way. I just feel like as I progressed in my knowledge, it's cool to be able to put it, like, to utilize that with people in a sport, right? Like because it's such there's just a lot of complexity. Like, it's not as simple as a lot of people would think that getting stronger is just what it is, right?
Yeah.
Or getting faster. There's a lot more nuance than that. So it's like being around people that appreciate my understanding of the nuance. And that's not always the case, right? Like I think the value that I bring to an athlete is that appreciation, because it's like, if you get, and it's 20 years of doing it, but it's, if you get an athlete that gets with the wrong strength coach, that just sees it as they just need to get stronger, it can fuck up that person. Because it's like, again, think of Sean compared to Tim. Obviously, they're different weight class. It's a different body. It's a different, like, they move different. They need different things. And so it's not just about getting stronger. Like, so it's like there's a lot of nuance there. So to me, working with athletes is a really cool platform to be able to utilize that knowledge. But that also, if I'm with a regular it's really about somebody that wants to be coached.
Yeah.
That's open to being coached. That's accepting,
I guess appreciates it too.
Yeah. Like, they just will give you the space to be heard.
Yeah.
To, like, because a lot of people will hire a coach and they're not really there to be coached.
Yeah.
You think about that, like, it's like, I could say that with me to you. If I have you over to help me with a podcast, and I'm sitting there and I'm not absorbing what you're telling me, or I'm not open to hearing you, I'm wasting your time.
Yeah.
And I'm missing out on this opportunity to learn about something you're really good at.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's a patience thing too.
Yeah.
Right? I can tell when some people are just kind of like, like they don't care. It's like, hi.
They're just not present.
Yeah.
They're just never there, man.
Or I don't know. It's weird, right? Yeah. I always think of that too. It's like, damn, this person's anxious, bro.
Yeah. You can sense it.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, there's like no flow. That person is there's a lot of resistance to life. Yeah. It's like and it presents itself different, but it's, like, people interrupt you and, they're answering. Yeah. You're like, oh, fucking
chill, bro.
Yeah. Like, slow down a little bit. Cause you're not feeling anything I'm saying.
Yeah, no, for real. And sometimes if I feel that, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to put in my energy into you type thing, you know? Not in like a mean way, but it's like, okay, like I kind of just match people's energy a lot of times.
Smart, man, because then you're not getting those type of people can suck your energy if you let them.
Yeah. I've been around that, and it's just like, I don't know if it's just being, I am introvert, but to a certain, I don't know. I'm very introvert, but could be open, like I'm down to do this. Like, let's talk. Even if the mics weren't here, like, let's just talk. Like, what's up? Understanding. And I think that plays a big part in just like anything in life, just like creating. It's just like, I guess just listening, So I think that's one thing that when I think about, why people like my stuff, I think I just kind of, I don't know. There's like a connection. There's like a feeling there. You can't even teach. I don't know. You maybe can. For me, I don't think I could teach it right now. Maybe in like 10 years or something when I fully understand it.
Yeah. Well, I think you couldn't teach it in the sense of nobody's going to be you.
Yeah.
But there would be principles that somebody would be open to that. Then they would have to figure out how to apply it to themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, again, to me, jiu-jitsu would be a great, right? Like, there are counters, but I imagine there's like somebody will do it a little different, right? Like, I
think it's just like a good foundation. Like, hey, build, like that's what Tim taught me. Like, hey, this is a good foundation of jiu-jitsu. Make sure you could do basic knee cup, basic side control skate, basic arm bar, like entry level stuff, and then you could add your taste to it. I think that's where I'm at now, where it's like I understand I have a good foundation of what jiu-jitsu is in a way. And now that's where kind of your style of jiu-jitsu, like how you like to roll, how you like to pass a guard, how you like to do this, boom, 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 how you like to set up your armbar, I don't know. But before you can get there, you have to understand, like, bro, you have to understand how to shrimp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I've learned, even through like art and design, marketing. It's like you could do all this like out the box stuff, but before you could do that, I feel like you have to learn how to draw a circle before you can start getting abstract with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I say in strength conditioning, it's learn the rules before you break them.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Because I've always been so like, nah, that's boring. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that's what jiu-jitsu taught me. Is like, no, like just be patient, understand, like, yo, you have to do these before you can start.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, we get so ahead of ourselves and we talked about consistency a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, really is like in strength conditioning, bro. If you can't, like, you don't need to be doing some fancy like rotational side bend like squat if you can't squat. Like, if, you know, like, let's figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Like, literally squat, hinge, push, pull. Like, it's pretty basic, like, biomechanics. Like, let's master that, and then you scale it. You progress it, you know? It's the same thing. But you walk into any big box gym, or really probably any gym, you got most people can't squat. Mm-hmm. You know, so they're doing some other crazy shit. Like, they haven't... They have compensations, and they haven't mastered the technique of what seems simple, but it isn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's so true, bro. Like, even for me, like, I don't know if it's like you're kind of embarrassed to ask how you do it too, you know?
Right.
When I started working out, I was like, I don't even know how to squat. Am I even curling right? You know what I mean?
Well, shit, bro, I've seen you now. You're deadlifting what? I saw like 400 pounds on the bar.
Whatever 3 plates is. 3 plates
315? Yeah. 350. That's strong, man.
Yeah. I weigh like 145, 147.
Yeah, it's strong.
Yeah, dude, it's been crazy. Even that, like, right, jiu-jitsu's taught me, like, okay, let me not be scared to kind of ask for help in other places, you know? Mm-hmm. Like the design stuff. Like, I know I'm not an expert at knowing how to use this program, but I know my friend literally has been doing this for 10 years plus. Let me get him to help me. Let me pay him whatever he's asking, or we'll work something out between me and him. So I know it could be better, you know?
Yeah.
And I've always just kind of tried to look for that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I know I'm not the best. I think Tim does a really good job at that too, where it's like he knows he's not the best at, obviously he could podcast, right? But he doesn't know how to work a camera or how to edit, or at least like there's people that love to do that and that will do a way better job at like what he can do. And that's what I try to do in my life too. It's like, okay, well, I know that's why I started working with my friend David. He's been powerlifting for I don't know how long. He's like, this is how you properly deadlift. This is how you properly bench. You know, basic stuff. Even when I was curling, he's like, oh, don't do this, do that. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I've been doing that wrong my whole life. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just kind of being, like, accepting that, like, dude, you don't know everything, bro. Like, there's always someone that knows more than you, I think.
Yeah, it's such a powerful skill to ask for help.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. And I don't know if it's just our society or our culture, if it's human nature to almost look at it like it's a weakness, right? Like, I think a lot of people look at asking, like, for some reason, asking questions or for help is a weakness, but that makes no sense.
Do you think that's a man thing, or is it just how you grow up?
because I know
girls.
Yeah, like like in theater, you know, I'm not gonna like throw anybody under the bus, but yeah, multiple people in my life, I would say that. Yeah, done it. Women that it's probably cultural. It's probably parenting. You know, I mean,
it depends how you grow up. Huh?
Yeah, if you're not taught to be curious, you know, I think there's this idea that, you know, like independence. Being independent is good.
Yeah.
But like being independent is correlated with like not asking for help, and that's not how it should be, right? Like, be independent, be a strong, you know, you're good on your own. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you don't ask for help, right? That doesn't mean that if I don't know, you don't know how to change a tire, well,
Yeah,
ask for
you're
help
just
or
being kind of
whatever.
ignorant. Don't you
You're
think you're
starting
stubborn?
to be stubborn. You're starting a business. Don't pretend like you know everything. Like you understand how to the tax implication of stuff. Like ask for help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've always been pretty good at that, but it's hard for me to go back and think of how I was when I was, in my early 20s. I feel like I've always been good at
Just being open to help.
yeah, at being open to listening to people and seeing them as experts. But
I guess there's a good fine line though when you're like asking for help and when you're kind of being lazy as far as like you're not trying.
you don't want to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Unless you're in a position where you're like stupid rich and you're just like, hey, I don't even want to think about it. Can you set it all up for me?
Well, it's maybe it's more of like this. It's there's nothing wrong with YouTubing something and figuring it out for yourself or learning it. But when you're sharing space with somebody else, when you're sharing presence with somebody else that's an expert, why wouldn't you ask them questions?
I know it's kind of silly to not.
Yeah, like that would be like that. Why not pick somebody's brain?
Yeah.
That's good at something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, bro.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing I've learned too, is just kind of asking for help. I mean, I'm sure I could be better at it. There's a lot of stuff where I am kind of stubborn. Like I'm like, nah, I could do it by myself. You know what I mean? But yeah, dude, anything, fucking podcasting, creating a brand. Like I'm happy I met but everything got to here by me starting, at least like trying. You know, if I never tried, I would have never got to having Austin as one of my closest friends, and he's my like main designer I work with all the time. Like it would have never got to there if I didn't ask him or if I didn't even start the brand.
Right.
And now I'm working with like Screen Print Warehouse that like it's like just teaching me about like how to run a business, like,
Yeah.
picking his brain a lot and just like, I don't know, just being around successful people and not being afraid to ask him like, hey, how do you do that? Yeah. Sometimes I'll be in the car with Sean like, hey, how do you like, do your drops? Like, how do you go about that type of thing? Just picking people's brains.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being comfortable with asking, I guess.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah.
How long are we doing?
114. Okay, end it there.
It's probably good, man.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I love it. Appreciate it, man.
Cool.
Love.
Cheers.
Cheers, salute. Where do we order your stuff?
So I have my website, jxsoto.com. I usually open it up like once a month. And I open it for probably like anywhere from 3 days to like a week once a month, just to kind of keep that demand up and gives me time to kind of design in between. But yeah, jxsoto.com or just jx.soto is my Instagram, and that's where I kind of promote most of my stuff. It's just through my IG.
Yeah.
And that's my main platform.
I love your stuff, man. I've always loved your perspective on really everything, but then that definitely comes out in your brand, which is cool. So
thank you, bro. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
And peace.
Deuce.
On you.